Yung pong...
Ma'am Chair?
Sorry. Kasi binibili po ang meters po ba? Binibili ang meters. Pero we're very conscious about, we are actually very conscious about the cost. And tinitingnan po natin, baka po ang sinasabi nyo, yung malaking parang infrastructure. Kasi may iba-iba. Kung meter type lang approval, parang metro din lang yan. Just like what we have. Di ba merong meter deposit? So, ganyan din ho yan ang classification.
Yeah, ang ibig kong sabihin, yung sa meter type, yung sa consumers, yung meter reading na in-install sa bahay.
Kung yun naman yung cost, sige pa.
Yung cost ba yan, ipapass on sa consumers?
Well, in a way, because ang ina-approve pa lang po natin is pilot, yung cost po ng smart meters will be part of the regulatory rate base. And also part of the distribution charge. So, and that's the reason why we are very meticulous in examining and making an evaluation of the smart meter type approvals. Ang nakita po naman na advantage kung meron lang hong smart meters installed, pero hindi pa nga tayo lahat smart meters ang inilalagay, hindi sana magiging problema yung hindi makapunta ang meter reader natin sa mga bahay-bahay. Because this, if you have the smart meters, they can be read remotely. Kahit doon lang sa opisina ng distribution utility, meron silang mechanism because there is a use of technology that the meters can be read from remotely, ang sabi niya. Kahit. So, hindi na kinakailangan pumunta mismo.
Yes, Honorable Ebcas.
Yeah, naintindihan ko yun. Pag smart metering na ang ginagamit sa member consumers, of course, yung mga DSM cost, yung cost ng labor sa tao na nagbabasa, yung traveling expenses, gasoline expenses, natural mawala na yon. But since yung itong pinafile sa Meralco na cost metering, di ba, kanina tanong ko, is pass on ba ito sa consumers? Now, if this is pass on sa consumers, pwede pa malaman kung ano bang impact nito sa rate, more or less, average? Yung sa sinasabi mo, Madam Chair, na inaprubahan nyo, na-actionan nyo, ano ba itong impact sa rate sa Meralco?
Yes, Ma'am Chair.
Ito po ang mga under evaluation namin. Kasi yung meter type approval na sinasabi namin, ito yung technical, no? Pero as to the rate, kasi hindi kasama naman ito sa pag-determine ng rate, wala po talagang impact in that sense.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, yun lang ang clarification or tanong ko kasi itong Meralco, nung last week until now, binabanggit nila. Ulitin ko na sana walang problema sa estimated billing kung nagkaroon tayo ng smart metering sa consumers. So yun lang ang katanungan ko, Mr. Chair. Madam, salamat sa sagot. Very informative. Thank you. Thank you.
Salamat.
Thank you, Honorable Ebcas. You, Chair Agnes. Definitely, this meter should be pushed and encouraging Percy to approve a lot of those smart meters to be implemented by our DUs. Next on our list of interpellators, I recognize Honorable Bong Suntay. Yes.
Hi, Mr. Chair.
Honorable Suntay.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah. First question ko kay Sec Agnes na lang muna. Kasi, Ma'am Agnes, as you mentioned earlier, yung ginamit na formula ng Meralco for billing their customers for this months covered by the ECQ period is a formula which is being used pag may mga short-term calamities or mga pang-isa, 2 linggong problema, di ba?
Opo.
Yung averaging. But as we saw that hindi siya tutugma or uugma kung long-term yung calamity like what happened to us now dito because of the COVID pandemic. And when I say na hindi talaga tutugma, it's because of yung outpouring ng shock doon sa mga customers ng Meralco who received their billing for May, and more so for both residential and commercial establishments na kagaya yung commercial establishment. As we all know, during the months covered by the ECQ, marami yung mga non-essential businesses were closed. But they were receiving billing for the months na sarado sila because averaging yung ginamit. Meron din tayong mga ibang kababayan na inabutan ng quarantine sa probinsya or sa ibang lugar, so walang tao sa bahay nila, kaya nagulat sila kung bakit may kuryente o electric bill na dumarating sa kanila, sinisingil sa kanila for a certain months like yung March and April. Now, we don't know kung after, di ba, ngayon mag-GCQ nga tayo, but we don't know. Pagka dumating yung tinatawag na second wave, baka mag-utos ulit si Pangulo na, isara natin ulit, and this might happen again. Are you already preparing a new formula that can be used if ever mangyari itong hindi nating inaasahan?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Kong. Yung pong tama po kayo doon, nung ginawa kasi nga yung ating rules on what should be used in cases of calamity, hindi pa naisip, nobody knew, nobody expected a situation like the COVID-19. So because of this, we are now looking into the rules, and in fact, we have already some proposals on the amendment of the rules so that it's going to be equitable. But as we see it, kung ano ho yung aming nailagay sa advisory namin, yun ho rin yung iba naming tinitingnan. But anyway, Mr. Chairman, Congressman, ito hong amendments sa aming rules will have to be subjected to public consultation so that we can get all the inputs. Doon naman ho sa sinasabi nyo, yung tungkol sa commercial at saka industrial, kasi nagsarado sila. Kunyari, mga factories, nagsarado sila. Pero bakit magkakaroon sila ng average billing based on the average of the past 3 months or based on the minimum, on the guaranteed minimum? Kasi po, itong mga commercial at industrial, they have a different contract with their distribution utility, and they have what we call guaranteed minimum billing demand. Dahil malalaki ho yung nilalagay doon na electrical facilities, so dapat mag-guarantee ho sa distribution utility na talagang ang konsumo nila will not be, or ang babayaran nila will not be any lower than that. Well, we are happy to know from Meralco that actually they have set aside this guaranteed minimum billing demand, and instead they will bill these industrial and commercial institutions on the basis of actually consumed electricity. So that was the decision of Meralco po.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, to you again. So ang
Yes, please proceed.
Ibig sabihin nito, Sec Agnes,
Opo.
actual billing, so yung last billing yung last billing na kanilang nakuha na may actual meter reading, ang gagawin nun ay i-add yung itong billing naman na makukuha nila ngayong let's say kunyari nakapag meter reading ngayon May or June, tapos nung i-average nila for the months covered. Tama ba? Ganun yung mangyayari?
Siguro ho, mas maganda magpaliwanag yung Meralco kasi
Okay, yeah.
meron sila.
Sige, yung Meralco.
Sige, Ma'am
Kasi
Chair,
sila
let's
yung nag-compute
ask
eh.
Meralco.
Thank you.
Oo.
Let's ask Meralco to respond. Meralco, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So as explained ho earlier, what we're going to do is importante ho makapag-meter read ang Meralco. Yan ang magiging basihan kung ano ba talaga yung actual consumption niya. Kung nakapag-estimate ho tayo ng March and April and ang lumabas ho is the last meter reading was in Feb, ang makukuha lang ho niyang consumption is your May reading less your Feb reading, you will have consumption. Tatanggalin ho natin yung inestimate natin ng March and April and makukuha mo ho yung netong amount. By that formula ho, we can guarantee ho na kung nakapagbasa na tayo ng Metro, customers will only be billed for what they actually consume.
Okay. Now, ano yung when you say that they will only be billed for what they actually consume, kasi kunyari walang consumption on particular months dahil totally sarado, like kunyari April and March. Pero di ba pagka nagbigay tayo ng billing, meron tayong sinasama dyan transmission charges, system loss, distribution charges, subsidies. So, ibig sabihin, wala din dapat yon. Hindi lang yung actual kilowatt consumed, di ba? Ang tatanggalin.
Meralco.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So, pagka nabasahan na ho natin yung Metro ng isang customer ng May, for example, and nakita natin na ang reading niya is 1,600 as an example. And ang reading ho nung Pebrero, yung last reading niya, 1,600. Ang makukuha nung customer is a reading of 0, pero na-overestimate natin siya ng March and April kasi nagpadala ho tayo ng mga bill sa kanya. Ang lalabas ho sa bill niya ng Mayo, may negative amount siya. May option ho yung customer. Pwede niya kung kunin yung refund niya sa Meralco Business Center or pwede niya kung i-apply yung amount na yun for his future bill. Magbabalanse ho siya.
So yung negative amount na yon would be based doon sa sa March and April na maling reading, tama? Yung total amount nun.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And then last question, Mr. Chairman, clarification lang dahil as I mentioned, madami sa atin mga kababayan ang na-shock dahil doon sa taas ng bill. And Meralco has sent an explanation kung bakit ito nangyari. Now for mas na-shock dahil kagaya sa example na binigay ko, whether it be residential, commercial, or industrial establishments, doon sa mga lugar na nawalan ng tao, hindi nag-operate yung negosyo o yung bahay walang tao during this period. Now, kung as mentioned earlier, kung nakapagbayad sila ngayong Mayo, i-refund sila or i-credit sa mga darating na billing. Tama, Mr. Nino, di ba? Pero kung hindi pa sila nakakapagbayad, so maghihintay sila ng actual reading at actual billing nyo. So meron kayo ngayon padadala ulit bago na billing sa kanila. Tama ba?
Yes, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
Meralco?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir, that is correct.
Go ahead.
So they can disregard, kunyari may natanggap silang billing ngayong Mayo, they can completely disregard it at maghintay na lang sila na without fear na mapaputulan sila ng kuryente for not paying.
Meralco?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, they can disregard their estimated bill and wait until they have been actually read. That will reflect their true consumption po.
Okay. So, ibig sabihin nito, lahat ng customer nyo, basta nabigyan nyo na kunyari ng billing, kung hindi pa nagbabayad yung ibang customer, magkakaroon ng actual reading ulit ang mga kawani ng Meralco and they will send another bill, electric bill. Tama?
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Suntay. Before we proceed to the next interpellator, can I just clarify lang, no, para maintindihan rin ng lahat, because nasya-shock rin talaga tayo sa mga bills natin. Definitely, Meralco, syempre, last time you guys checked the meter was sometime in March, no? Before the lockdown. Is that true? Is that correct?
We were able to meter read, Mr. Chairman, in Feb, and some of them before ECQ in March.
Yes. So let's talk about those that have been read before the ECQ. So last time was before the ECQ, and then the next reading that you will be able to make is the May, May na. This May period, tama?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, kasi ang nagiging problema natin is nag-estimate tayo ng March and April. I think May na rin. Papasok na sa estimation yan because we're waiting for the actual meter read. So, ang sinasabi ko lang, when you guys read the meter nung before ECQ, next meter read nyo na, hindi nyo na you guys cannot estimate anymore the bills for you guys cannot get the actual meter yung meter read nyo for the months of April and May, di ba? Am I correct? So parang na-lump sum na siya all together for the May bill or June bill. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
So in other words, talagang when the bill comes, yung na actual meter read na natin, you cannot already chop it off into actual read ng March, April at May. And you just get that lump sum for those months na cover nung quarantine natin. Tama?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. You will only see the value of your current reading minus your previous reading. In this case was February.
Exactly. So which would be the same thing also for our water readings. Yung pag-calculate nila ng mga bills natin would be the same because they weren't able to do the meter readings during March, April, May. So two figures lang ang nakikita ng utilities natin, which would be the one pre-ECQ and one post-ECQ. So para lang malaman ng mga consumers natin na ganun ang pagre-read niyan. Kaya definitely medyo shocking rin talaga yung bill because as we've said, we've been in the house for the longest time. Nakaipit tayo dyan, summer pa, so mainit, so mas lalaki yung consumption. So, ganun yung nangyari dyan. And I would like to commend Meralco and hopefully yung sinabi nga ni Honorable Suntay na yung mga tao, para maklear lang, no? Para wala tayong gulo, Meralco will be sending the bill na actually read. And hopefully Meralco would indicate doon mismo na actually read. I think we have to put it in clear letters, clear indication na actual read bill. Para alam natin, walang confusion na yun talaga yung babayaran nating bill. Tama, Meralco?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. So proceeding, we've got our last two interpellators. We have Honorable Guya. If Honorable Guya.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you and magandang hapon sa lahat. Especially sa ating maganda at magiting na chairman ng ERC. Now, my question, Mr. Chair, is directed to Meralco. I may proceed, Mr. Chair? Now,
of course, please proceed.
According to your data here, which was taken from your website, yung bilateral contract power suppliers ng Meralco ay 12 po. Am I correct? There are 12 power suppliers.
Meralco, please respond.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will double check that, but that's around that number po.
And 13 po yung WSM.
WSM po is isa sa pinagkukuhanan namin ng kuryente. Tama po.
Okay. So, there are 13 suppliers of Meralco. Now, tanong ko lang po sa generation charge ng Meralco. Ilang percent po ba sa buong rate ng Meralco yung generation charge?
More or less po, nasa 50%.
50%. Okay?
Mga around 55 po. 55%,
55.
sorry.
Okay? Now, generation charge is, may tatlong component po yung generation charge. Am I correct, Mr. Chair? The capacity,
Please proceed.
the variable O&M at saka fixed operation and maintenance. Am I correct, Meralco?
Meron po sa mga power supplier sa power supply agreements po namin, ang generation cost ay may fixed capacity payment, fixed O&M at saka variable O&M po.
Now, Mr. Chair, my concern is about the variable O&M. Kasi di ba dito yung fuel ng mga generators natin binibili, no? And also maybe I will also address, baka pwedeng magsagot yung taga-generators dyan. During the pandemic, bumaba yung demand ng mga utilities by an average of 30%. So meaning to say, the fuel consumption of these generators dapat bumaba rin. Am I right?
You want to address this to Meralco, Honorable Guya?
Yes, yes.
Meralco, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, tama po.
Now, kasi dito, Mr. Chair, yung Meralco kasi, noong April, ang kanyang rate is, generation charge is 4 pesos and 63.85 centavos per kilowatt hour. And ngayong May, 4 pesos, 4.3848 pesos per kilowatt hour. So bumaba po siya ngayong May. Noong April, siyempre kasagsagan ng pandemic yon. Bumaba yung demand ng mga utilities kasi nag-shutdown lahat yung mga malalaking kumpanya natin. What is left are only the residential consumers.
Pero March supply yun.
Yeah. So, I'm quite, parang ako nagtataka dito, Mr. Chairman, bakit nung pandemic, mataas yung presyo ng Meralco by 15, no, 0.1537 pesos per kilowatt hour as compared to May. Now, my concern here, Mr. Chair, is maybe I will address this to our chairman ng ERC. Madam, are there people monitoring the variable O&M of these power suppliers? Kasi malaking bagay po ito na kung wala nakatingin nito, medyo talagang mataas yung presyo ng generation charge. Because to me, Mr. Chairman, the 55% generation charge to the total rate of the customer, talaga mataas yan. Kaya siguro, if I may ask our ERC chairwoman, if ERC monitoring the variable O&M of our generators.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, we have actually required Meralco to submit to us certain documents because we have a specific unit in ERC which monitors this. So based on the basis of the submission, we do monitor and we come out with our own findings, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Guya.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, kasi if you are going to compute yung difference nila ng April at saka May, mayroon po siyang 0.1537 pesos per kilowatt hour. If you are going to multiply this by the total sales of Meralco for the month of May is 2,541,255,700 kilowatt hours, 780 kilowatt hours. If we are going to multiply this by the difference of 0.1537 pesos per kilowatt hour, revenue, mayroon pong 390 billion pesos po na nakolekta ni Meralco. Yung difference. No? Noong April. Kasi mas mataas yung April. So I think ERC should look at on this. Kasi I am concerned about the variable O&M, Mr. Chairman. Especially on the fuel. Kasi bumaba yung fuel. Yung price ng fuel bumaba rin. So that's my concern, Mr. Chairman. Kaya medyo itong 55% na generation charge ng Meralco is, I think we should look at on this, Madam Chair ng ERC.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you for that suggestion, and that will be considered when we do the evaluation, because there's really a unit in charge of monitoring, Your Honors.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And itong capacity recovery fee, Madam Chairwoman, I know you are a good lawyer. Sa PSA yan, bumaba naman yung demand. Saka yung generator po, hindi po umaandar ng pool. Kaya hindi naman po siya nagtatrabaho ng talagang as required kasi bumaba yung demand ng kuryente natin. Baka po pwedeng mapag-usapan. And I agree with Congressman Daguok that you might middle with between the GenCos and the electric or the DIOs para naman po pakinggan yung hinaing, yung appeal ng mga electric consumers. Baka po pwede ibaba natin yung CRF. Ay alam namin yan, CRF yan po yung pangbayad nila sa kanilang nautangan sa bangko para magtayo ng planta. Pero ngayong pandemic kasi, baka pwede po natin mapag-usapan. Yun lang po, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat po at magandang hapon po.
Thank you. Ma'am Agnes, if you can respond to that.
Well, as we have said before, the peculiarity of the situation of ERC is that it is a quasi-judicial body. So we cannot be representing, we cannot intervene in a negotiation, but we do encourage negotiations between the parties, and the feedback that we gathered is that the parties have really come to not just better terms but best terms, but they have to sit down and start a negotiation. Should there be a real problem, why not? ERC will be happy to listen to them.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Guya, if you're... yes, Meralco.
Mr. Chair, pwede po bang
yes.
makasagot sa query ni...
Yes, please, go ahead. Go ahead.
Tama po si Congressman Guya no, dun so far dun sa rate na sinabi niya sa April at saka doon sa May generation charge ng Meralco. Gusto ko lamang po ipaliwanag. Yung April bill po kasi ng Meralco, ang kino-cover niyan ay March na supply. So for the March po, 10 days lang po ang naapektuhan nung pandemic doon ng ECQ. So that's the reason po kaya maliit yung binaba ng generation charge namin from March to April. Pero nung April po, buong buwan na po ng April ang nasakop ng ECQ, kaya po yung May generation charge namin, ni-reflect na po yung buong, yung mas malaking reduction ng generation charge. Yung sa fuel po na sinasabi ni Congressman Guya, tama po siya dito po sa kaso ng Meralco, ang fuel po ay hindi namin binabayaran kung hindi naman namin ginamit ang kuryente, no? Kung hindi naman nakonsumo ang kuryente ng mga consumers. At sa amin po sa Meralco, nag-claim po kami ng force majeure sa lahat ng aming power suppliers. At for the month of April nga po ay umabot ito ng 129 million. The fixed cost reduction sa generation charges na nag-benefit naman po yung consumers doon para sa buwan po ng Abril. Para naman po sa buwan ng Mayo, ang binaba po nito umabot ng 877 million in reduction in fixed charges sa amin pong mga power supply agreements. Yung mga fuel po tsaka BOM, hindi na po yun nasama sa billing kasi naman po hindi naman po yun nasingil kung hindi naman po tumakbo yung planta o nabawasan naman po yung planta. Nabawasan din po ang singil doon sa variable O&M at saka po sa fuel. Yun lang po. Salamat po.
Thank you, Meralco. Yes, Honorable Guya, if that would be the
Mr.
last of
Chair.
your...
And that is why I am asking the Honorable Chairwoman of BRC to kindly look into this issue about the variable O&M, Mr. Chair, because dito naglalaro yung presyo ng kuryente. So dapat mabonitor natin po yan para naman yung true cost of generation talaga ang nai-pastor natin doon sa mga consumers po natin. Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Guya. And for our last interpellator, may I now recognize Vice Chairman Hector Sanchez.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Oh,
Yes, please proceed.
yes. And to our distinct colleagues and to all our resource person. First, I would like to commend and thank you to all participants who explained very well. And my first question is, what is to ERC? What is the accuracy allowed or approved accuracy percentage setting of electric meter that we are using in the country? How many percent, plus or minus?
Yes, Honorable Chair. Agnes.
Mr. Chair, may I refer the question to my Executive Director for the technical side? She's here.
Yes. What's the name, Madam Chair?
Director Digal.
Yes, Director Digal, please respond to Honorable Sanchez's query.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Your Honors. I unfortunately don't have the exact plus or minus percentage, but we are, of course, eyeing for as close as possible to the most accurate. It should be 0, Your Honor. But I think there is some kind of a percentage of plus minus. I just have to get the figure, sir.
Honorable Sanchez.
Yes. Mr. Chair, if the accuracy setting of emitter, let's say more than 103%, now the electric cooperative or the utility maybe is charging more than the consume of the electric meter.
Yes, address to Honorable Sanchez.
Yes,
Chair.
address to ERC.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Your
Madam
Honors.
Chair Agnes.
Mr. Chair, Your Honors.
Digal, yes.
Yes.
Yes, Ma'am Digal, please
I now
proceed.
have the figures, Your Honor. For our existing rules, the accuracy acceptable will be plus or minus 2% po for meters.
Okay, plus or minus 2%. Now, my next question is that is considered for every revolution of the meter, correct?
Your Honors, we have to qualify the plus or minus 2% for meters are not for new meters po. We have a more stringent requirement when it comes to new meters. It's now at positive or negative 0.05%, Your Honor. That's why my initial statement really earlier was just it's close to 0 already. So for new meters, we are requiring a range of plus or minus negative 0.5. For the existing meters, or which are presumably the old ones, it's the plus or minus 2% that will apply.
So
Yes.
ito pong metrong inallow nyo o inapprove is ito yung lahat na nakakabit sa buong Pilipinas, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. And in fact, Your Honor, we conduct spot audits of and inspection of those meters to ensure that they are accurate, Your Honor.
So bago po ito ikabit, di ba, meron tayong silyo na inalalagay, ERC seal and also the utility seal, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chair, we confirm that before a meter is installed to service a particular customer, it should be bearing the ERC seal, Your Honors.
So considering that this is a residential meter, how about those are now with multiplier?
The requirement, Your Honor, applies to all types of meters, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
So including the demand charge, meaning you have the full scale reading of a commercial meter, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
So going back, may I know in your records how many percent of smart meter are already installed? Average, more or less in our country.
Your Honors, if we may just submit the figures, Your Honor. Unfortunately, we don't have the figures for today, Your Honor. But we have, I think, an
please submit
inventory
those
of the
figures,
smart meters.
Ms. Tigan.
Okay. Yes, Your Honor. We will, Your Honor.
Okay. Are you requiring for a commercial meter the one with electronics, or we call that the net metering?
We have existing
ERC?
net. Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chair. We have our existing net metering rules also.
Okay. So that is only for consumers. How about the power or substation metering now for NGCP and also for the generation meter?
I will, Mr. Honor, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, I believe for those kind of meters, we likewise have existing rules on how to check and validate their accuracy, Your Honor.
Okay, because this has been to do in connection with, you know, the installation which kanina nabanggit, I think from your side, na not necessary na pupuntahan pa isa-isa ang metro para i-reading because you have now this electronics metering, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Now, just to another question on a technical side, you can by using this net metering, you have this CTPT connected with relays, which is you can easily disconnect the power, correct?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, some disconnection may be affected remotely, Your Honor.
Remotely, okay. So would you please give us per ERC record, or maybe you can ask to DOE, what are those already net metered installed, especially on our transmission or distribution nationwide, because we want to know, the House or the August body wants to know all the records for our review.
Okay, maybe, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, may we just be given time to submit the required documents and information, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Another question, going back to the report of ex-Congressman Colmenares. Do you have these records that was mentioned, the refund, that was the decision coming from Supreme Court, and also the overcharging and the Malampaya funds, which I think the consumers now is enjoying. Can you please submit that record if that is already refunded or only portion is refunded?
Yes,
We will
may I
submit,
ask,
Your
former
Honor.
Congressman? No, I think that question was also directed to former. Am I correct, Honorable Sanchez? Is that directed to former Congressman Nery Colmenares?
Well, yes, and also to ERC because they are the one.
PRC, they have the
Yes.
documents. Yes, for all the requirements being asked by Honorable Sanchez, please submit to this committee copies of those documents that were asked for.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Honorable Sanchez, can I'd also want to direct that question to former Congressman Honorable Nery Colmenares.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, well, actually, yes, the Supreme Court decision in that case in 2003 is totaled about 30.2 billion. There have been questions in the ERC previously, not under the current ERC Chair de Panadera, about this, but there was no reply, and we wanted to find out because Meralco announces a 1.2 billion refund, and we haven't heard of a Meralco announcement of a 30.2 billion peso refund. So maybe the Meralco is here. They would surely remember if they refunded 30.2 billion. And secondly, if they claim that they have already refunded the 30.2 billion, we would like to request the ERC, of course, if ERC can audit this. But just in case Meralco hasn't refunded it yet, that's a lot of help, Mr. Chair, kasi pag binalik mo yan by June, maraming tanong sa atin kanina masosolve kasi hindi nababayaran muna ng taong bayan ang mga bills nila, at least yung 200 kilowatt-hour consumption ay mababawas na doon sa refund na yon ng Meralco, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Colmenares. Which is actually very timely regarding the refund. May we be enlightened also if Meralco can answer that? Meralco, if you can respond regarding
Yes.
that refund.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Concerning po the 30 plus billion refund that was ordered by the Supreme Court, as mentioned by Mr. Former Congressman Colmenares. Kami po we submit a status report to the Energy Regulatory Commission regularly. So based on our latest submission, we have refunded almost or more than 28 billion pesos already, and about 2.3 billion remains unrefunded. At naka-report po iyan sa Energy Regulatory Commission at nagko-comply po kami sa sinasabi ng Energy Regulatory Commission na i-deposito ito sa
So this refund, when did Meralco start refunding this 30 billion overcharging?
Upon finality of the decision of the Supreme Court, Your Honor, I think that was in 2004. 2004. Sorry.
Yes, 2004.
Yeah, 2003, 2004. I will have to go back to the records for that, Your Honor, to confirm. But it's sometime between that period.
Yes, but this refund that is being mentioned by former Congressman Nery Colmenares, this was overcharged what year? 2003?
1998, but there was a
so somewhere in the year 19 something.
Yes, there was a decision
can I just
Energy Regulatory Board at the time, and then it was elevated to the Supreme Court, and the decision came only in 2003, if I'm not mistaken. So that was the time when that decision became final that we started refunding. So the ERC
Thank you, Meralco.
guidelines on that, sir.
Can we just ask ERC Chair Agnes to actually look at the refunds being made by Meralco and make sure that these refunds really reach our consumers who are entitled to said refunds?
Yes,
Agnes?
yes, Your Honor. Mr. Chairman, actually, what is being discussed is corporate income tax refund that is that was directed by the Supreme Court in its ruling in 2003. So it must be in the 1990s that this corporate income tax came about as an issue. Now, we required Meralco to submit to us the reports on the refund. And as of right now, the amount that is unrefunded because Meralco could not locate. They said that they're not able to locate the consumers anymore, amount to about 2 billion. The next process that ERC should be doing is really to file an SCHIT proceeding, and that we manifested to both houses during the budget hearing that we would need filing fees and for us to be able to initiate the SCHIT proceedings. And we were granted by both houses. Well, of course, it started with the House of Representatives to an amount to cover the filing fees. However, it is considered a CI because it was not included in our regular. And as we know, there is now a policy that all CIs all congressional initiative can no longer be availed of. So we have to put off the filing of the SCHIT proceeding, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, who's raising their hands?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, who's this? Sorry, I can't see.
Congressman
Honorable Commissioner. Yeah. Yes,
Mr.
please
Chair.
proceed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. There are many kinds of fund being asked, and this 30.2 billion, Mr. Chair, took a long time, of course, to process. And now, sabi ng Meralco, hindi na namin mahanap kasi ang tagal eh. Kaya ngayon, hindi mag-benefit ang consumers. Maybe, Mr. Chair, there should be an independent audit on these refunds, Mr. Chair. We're not just talking of this particular refund. There have been many other refunds. No? Ina-announce lang naman ng Meralco yan. Ano? Secondly, Mr. Chair, itong 2 billion plus na hindi pa nila na-refund, na sabi nila, kung totoo na yun na lang ang natira, pwede naman nang magamit sana ngayon yan, ano? For me, ano, doon sa condonation na hinihingi, Mr. Chair. Other than that, of course, as I mentioned kanina, merong mga charges, like ERC Commissioner Non, may sinasabi siyang 40 to 50 billion pesos na overcharging ng Meralco. At yung 29.6 billion naman na petisyon sa ERC. Malaking bagay po ito kung petisyonan agad, Mr. Chair. Kasi that's really a huge amount na pwede talagang magamit ngayon, Mr. Chair.
I agree. I think the Honorable Chair Agnes should look into this, and if we can actually get a quick decision already on the petitions filed with the ERC. Madam Chair.
We will do that, Your Honor, on the point of the income tax refund because that's very clear and there is a Supreme Court decision. We have to have some legal basis to require Meralco to directly refund because the process under the law is that we should be filing the SCHIT so that it will go to the government. But we will study that, Your Honor.
Meralco has any comments on that?
With regard to the SCHIT, Your Honor, we will just abide by what the ERC will direct us with respect to the unrefunded 2.3 billion. But just to emphasize, Your Honor, since the finality of the decision pa lang po, 2003, finality of the Supreme Court decision, kami po sa Meralco ay nag-a-announce na, no, because we were required to announce to the public, to those who are entitled to refund, may claim the refund. No? So, continuous naman po yung process na yon. It's just that for the 2.3, talagang wala nang naki-claim sa amin refund, kaya po may naiwang 2.3 billion. So yan naman po ay nire-report sa Energy Regulatory Commission.
If I may,
Thank
Mr. Chair,
you. Yes,
if I may.
yes, please proceed.
Thank you. So that's one issue, no? The second issue that I mentioned kanina, yung problema naman natin is outside the Meralco franchise, no? Oh, by the way, before going outside the Meralco franchise, I don't know if this happened in the provinces, pero during the ECQ pala, may mga brownouts, and we experienced that, no? Brownouts lasting 4 to 5 hours several times. Maybe matanong din ang komite, ang Meralco at ang NGCP. Grid, kasi is it a question of hindi ko alam kung anong reason ng Meralco, may naputol na kuryente, or is it the capacity of the grid, no? During these times, no? So, but second to that, Mr. Chair, yung nabanggit ko kanina na para sa mga non-profit electric cooperatives, yung condonation sana matakil talaga ng komite, kasi as I mentioned kanina, magandang matanong ang BTR, but the facts I mentioned kanina about the 249 billion pesos as at end of December 2018, galing yan sa National Expenditures Program ng gobyerno for the 2020 GAA. So I'm sure, we're all sure it's correct. Now you have 249 billion pesos and you count the 2019 revenue of 29.6 billion pesos. Mr. Chair, sabi ko nga kanina, ang estimated total na nun is 275 billion pesos. So malaking tulong sana ito sa electricity consumers kasi energy-related activities ito. So sana maungkat yan at mai-deliver na yan kasi kahit mag-condone sa Meralco sa mga consumers niya dito, ano ngayon, parang balik niya lang yung mga dating tubo niya. I mean, Meralco had a 22.3 billion net core profit in 2019, no? So at least pati sana ang mga nasa probinsya rin magkakaroon din ng alibyo dito sa nangyaring pandemic, lalo na ang taas ng babayaran nila. Sabi nga kanina sa hearing na to, ang matanggap nila sa May, yun na pala ang accumulation ng kanilang mga consumption ng March and April and May. Grabe po yan. I'm very, very worried na maraming hindi makakabayad at sabi ko nga kanina, impacts yan eh. So anong gagawin mo niya? Puputulan. Komplikado yan pag pinutulan mo, di ba? So maybe the committee can really intervene on this para hindi tayo umabot sa very serious and complicated situation na hindi mabayaran ng ang kuryente pero naniningil naman ang mga DUs. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Colmenares. Specifically, that's why even during the GCEC hearing, I specifically requested Meralco na for those bills falling within the quarantine period, if failure to pay that, maybe they can actually consider of not cutting the electricity of our consumers. Yung tingnan natin na sir, and I would ask Meralco to consider that also. Looking also at the Malampaya funds, definitely this committee would look into that, because as we know, there's still a huge balance left even after subtracting the Murang Kuryente Act. We'll look at that in cases of being able to answer for some of the electricity bills of our consumers. I'd also like to express my thanks to the electric cooperatives, because mainly I think the electric cooperatives have taken amount in their coffers to be able to pay for those who are under the 50 kilowatt per hour or the lifeline consumers through their Pantawid Liwanag program. So I commend the ECs for doing that. Hopefully, I think I don't know if Meralco can also do that, but let's not just focus on Meralco, but let's also call out our private distribution utilities if they can actually, I mean, talking about all the private use all over the country, if they can also actually give that kind of a condonation to our lifeline consumers. And lastly, I think it's well taken that one of the things that could really help our consumers would be the speedy decision that the Supreme Court can give when it comes to the ARCOA. I also believe that if they approve the ARCOA already and if the TRO, then that would actually give the consumers a chance to choose which power generator that they can get their consumption from. So with that, I think the committee in the coming days would I guess would take cognizance of the Malampaya Fund and actually see what we can do with this fund in helping our kababayans in this time of crisis. If there are no more other matters, also before we proceed, I think Honorable Nograles would want to discuss something on other matters.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a bit of housekeeping because since our last hearing on House Resolution 161, which is on February 5, 2020, we have had multiple submissions with regards to the WESM. And particularly, it has already been established by the GCG that PEMC still remains to be a GOCC. The ERC in its latest submission as well clarified that the market transaction fees are granted only to PEMC and that IMAP has no provisional or any approval from the ERC with regards to market transaction fees in the WSM. Our committee is also in receipt of a letter from a board member of PEMC admitting that they did not follow the EPIRA or its IRR in the creation of IMAP. And the DOE also has not yet fully reported to us, even if they promised us through ASEC Ergiza that there will be a report. So perhaps, Mr. Chair, we can schedule a final hearing on 161, on House Resolution 161, or maybe even consider drafting already or creating a draft of the committee report on House Resolution 161 so that if there are any violations of law, particularly the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, we can forward the same to the Ombudsman. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Nograles. I think we should hear this one more time, mainly because there's still a pending submission from the DOE, requesting the DOE to already submit the same so that we can already start a hearing again on IMAP and the PENC. And lastly,
thank you, Mr. Chair, because the two issues really are, number one, whether PEMC is a GOCC and that if they followed the law in the creation of IMAP, which we have multiple evidence on the matter. And number two is IMAP in their collection of market transaction fees, is that legal, which we already have all the evidence saying that it isn't. No, so yes, 161 is really needed. Yung kulang na lang ho, Mr. Chair, honorable members, is whether or not the DOE will do something about this situation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Nograles. But before we end this committee hearing, may I just like to remind Meralco also, because I think there has already been consumers that have been charged already or has already paid their bills even though they haven't been actually read yet. So sana naman, looking at that refund, which took so long before it was refunded to our consumers, definitely for those that have paid at nag-overcharge naman, siguro naman medyo prompt yung pagka-refund ng Meralco dito sa ating mga consumers. Meralco?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you have our assurances.
Thank you, Meralco. So, in closing, I'd just like to say that the country is in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and our nation is battling not just the virus, but also struggling economically. So we really wanted to help our people who were dismayed at their shockingly high electricity bills. I think that we made significant headway in today's meeting by clarifying the cause of the spike in electricity bills during the ECQ and getting the commitment of Meralco, PhilReca, and the ERC, of course, DOE, that they are on top of the problem and will be taking the necessary steps to correct errors in billing and ultimately charging the households only for the actual electricity they consumed. In this meeting, we were able to get the assurance of Meralco that the consumers can disregard their estimated billings, which were questioned by many of its customers and also of our members, and that hopefully by June 8, Meralco will send another bill that is based on actual meter readings. In this correct billing, Meralco will indicate that the customer's meter had been read. Pending the delivery of accurate billing, the consumers do not need to pay yet, and Meralco assures that no disconnection of electricity will happen in case of unpaid billing during the ECQ. Now, if some customers have already paid the estimated billing and it resulted in overpayment, then the customer may opt to refund, and an assurance given today that they will be refunded immediately. We also welcome the news that the electricity bills may be paid in monthly installments, thank you to ERC, to further ease the burden of the consumers. 6 monthly payments for Lifeline customers, or 4 monthly equal payments for households using more than 200 kilowatt per hour per month. We also recognize that there is a need to balance the interests of the ordinary consumers with the difficulties and financial costs being borne by the generators and the electric cooperatives. Because at the end of the day, while we want to ease the burden of our citizens, we cannot sacrifice our power supply and must assure the continued operations of our generators and electric cooperatives. We thank everyone, especially my members and the resource persons, for your active participation and contribution to our hearing. In the coming days, let us continue our close coordination within the energy sector so that we can help each other in our united goal to ensure sufficient, affordable, and sustainable energy to our nation. So to my members, many thanks. To the resource persons, do I hear that motion?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Here, second.
I second.
Thank you again, everyone. This committee hearing is hereby adjourned. Many thanks for your participation. Good
Thank you
afternoon.
so much. Thank you very much.